I'm in like my most laziest attire right now.
Shake it off, 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 shake it off. Shake those bobs, shake those bobs, shake those bobs, shake those bobs, shake those bobs.
My bobs
Get
are
hype.
shaked.
Get hype.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Queer Collective Podcast. My name is your girl, Karbon.
And I'm Emily, and
Welcome to the show.
thanks.
You're welcome to the show.
Yeah, thanks. I ran out of my ADHD medication today, and I forgot to go pick it up. So today's the Yeehaw episode, unmedicated. So today's topic is why representation matters. And that is one of my favorite topics to talk about.
Is it really?
Yes, that's what Queer Collective is all about. So I love chitter-chatting about
Chitter chatting?
that. Yeah.
Okay, let's chitter chat then.
So context, the reason why we really feel like talking about this today is because we've been watching the latest season of Big Brother Canada.
Mm-hmm.
And even if you don't watch Big Brother and you maybe don't love reality TV, I would totally recommend this season. They kept like boasting about how it's like their most diverse season ever, and it truly is.
It truly is, though. They weren't kidding.
Yeah.
They're literally truthing.
Yeah. Usually if like I've been watching Big Brother like on and off for a while, but usually it's just like white, cisgendered, really hot people. But this season it was like,
Is it because they want the steamy time sex?
yeah, they want all
Segs.
the showmances. They want all the segs.
Huh.
Yeah.
But
It
just
gets so
white
bland.
segs?
Yeah, it gets so bland. There's always one token lesbian, one token gay guy,
Jeez.
one or the other sometimes, and then there's probably like one or two token black people. That's it.
Oh, just like one.
Yep.
Damn. Has a black person ever won BB Can?
I don't think so, because Ty was like excited about making history.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is like season 9, so
Mm-hmm.
damn. But this year,
This year
totally
was
different.
sick.
You know
Yeah.
what's surprising to me? Arissa Cox,
Yeah, which is the host.
of Big Brother Canada.
Mm-hmm.
She's black, and they never had like anybody else, but they make the host a black person. Like,
I feel like that was them checking a box.
yeah, like token.
Yeah,
again.
yeah,
Like,
and they weren't really
got it.
willing to move forward. I think probably what happened was this year with all of the protests, basically all corporations realized that they needed to like up their representation. And I
Yeah.
think that's what this was. But it was honestly the most entertaining season of Big Brother
Oh,
Canada ever.
so good.
Yeah,
I've never seen Big Brother Canada, but
Yeah.
this season just was epic. And
It
this
was
was
the best.
so this is like my first impression of Big Brother Canada. So obviously I'm like, whoa, this is great. It's so
Yeah.
diverse. I love it. It's spicy. It's entertaining.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it was always a nail biter.
yeah. I would love to hear like a non-queer person's perspective on it though. Like, were you as excited as we were? Were we just super entertained because there were so many queer people, there are so many people of color? Or did you also like it? I feel like bringing in more diverse experiences makes a show more exciting, and it makes it more interesting, because it's just gotten so bland over the years where it's like literally you can dictate exactly who's going to be in it. Like 4 muscle bros, 4 hot girls, 1 lesbian, you know, it's like you check boxes every single
Right.
season, and this one was the first one that didn't.
That's awesome. I really loved it, man. There were so many people of color there. Like we mentioned, there's so many queer
Yeah.
people. They kept it like really spicy and entertaining. And I loved that also they had their first indigenous person on the show.
Yeah, that was dope.
Like, that was sick. And he almost won the game. Keep it real. Yeah. I love how he had a shirt that said his name's Kiefer. For context, anybody listening or watching right now, his name's Kiefer, and he had a shirt that said "Keep it real," and he's from Haida in Canada, and he kept saying "Haida till I die," and I was like, "This is the best."
Loved it. The reason I felt like we kind of needed to expand on why representation matters is because they did talk about it a lot. They're always like the theme of the season was representation, like representation matters, blah, 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 blah. And they would kind of ask the question of like, why is this so important? But they never really dug into it of why it's really important. And like some people just like know that it is and know that it's important to see themselves and see people like them on TV,
Yeah.
but don't really
know how to explain why?
Yeah.
Or for benefit of the doubt, it could be that they did explain why, but it just wasn't shown on TV.
Yeah, that's possible.
That's also possible. But tell me why you really think that representation is super, super important in TV shows, in media in general, because I feel like there's a lot of people that just don't see it that way or don't understand why it's important.
Yeah. I think the biggest piece is like queer people have been seen in media for a long time, not like overly represented, but the way that we have been represented in history is as villains, is as like the token. Yeah, there's like this whole Disney conspiracy. I'll dig into it in a second.
Okay, please.
But the way that we have been portrayed in media has been as the villain, as the like token gay person, as the best friend, as the, you know, like as a stereotype.
The gay best friend kind of person, or just like the token lesbian who has a hard time finding love kind of thing. And they always like have not as much anymore because it's definitely getting better. Totally. But in the beginning, did you notice that like majority of the time, their token queer person was so stereotypically dressed, and it wasn't even inclusive of like the entire community. It was either like a token lesbian or a token gay guy. Yeah, it didn't have anything in between or any other representation other than those two back in the day. Yeah, and they were always like stereotypical, like the most cookie cutter stereotypical like token person that you could get. Like if it was a lesbian, they would make her butch or like wearing like snapbacks backwards, wearing like the flannel or like the ripped jeans or the tattoos or whatever. And the gay guy always had to be like super flamboyant,
and he insults people. He's like rude and mean and cunning, you know? And so that's kind of to my point, is like even recently, in recent years, while representation has increased, the way that it's being presented to us obviously isn't diverse, because it's like if there's one movie that comes out, the thing is like if you're only having like one or two queer movies coming out that are like dominant queer movies, they're going to try and advertise it to a broad audience, and they're not going to show someone authentically, like a queer person just being themselves.
They always have to have like a personality that is like showing some representation, but it's the most cookie cutter version of it, and checks off their boxes. And on top of that, I noticed, this could just be my opinion, but I've noticed that in the past it's been like whoever their token queer person is was also like only kind of queer, like not, you know, not too queer.
It's palatable.
You know what I mean? Like it's like, oh, easy for like the average straight person to digest and like be okay with. But if it was like,
it's like normalizing the queer.
Yeah, it never got like, or even gentrifying the queer. Like it never got to the point of like someone super wacky or like super out there being just completely themselves. It was always like still like together.
Safe.
And safe. Yeah, safe.
Yeah, and I think that's starting to change now. Like the more representation we see, and this is why it's so important to be increasing representation by a lot, you know, and by just showing people as normal characters, as main characters, where the storyline isn't just about them coming out. Like it's just their life. And it shows you, when there's more characters, it shows you that you're not one thing. It shows young queer people that you do not have to be this stereotype, which I feel like a lot of lesbians feel that way when they come out. We've talked about this before on the podcast, where you feel like you need to be this kind of butch, masculine type of person.
And then if
and gay guys feel the same way
totally,
too.
Absolutely. Yeah. And then if you do decide to go that route of like the butch or like the flamboyant gay or whatever, you feel like you have to stick to that.
And it doesn't matter what you wear. And like you just are who you are. Your sexuality, your gender, it doesn't define you. And I think a big piece of that I've seen this last year, which was really, really cool, is showing that trans people or non-binary people aren't specifically one thing. And kind of referencing to Drag Race with Gottmik, she is a trans man, and I'm saying she because I'm talking about her in drag. Like Got Mick
Right.
is
Yeah,
her
yeah,
drag
yeah.
name, so that's why I'm saying she. But out of drag, she's a trans man. This gets confusing with drag.
Yeah.
So
he's a boy, but in drag, she's a girl.
of course,
queen.
because that's how you
queen.
reference drag queens.
Yeah.
And she like explained that in the show. So what was cool though is that he said that he never felt like he could be trans because he was very
Flamboyant.
feminine
And feminine.
But he's like, I'm just a gay guy. Like,
Yeah,
I'm a
yeah.
flamboyant gay guy. Like,
Yeah.
when you transition, you don't have to transition to society's stereotype of what a
Right.
man is.
Yeah, that's another thing is like, and I'm so glad, and this is why I fully agree that we just need representation in
Of
media
all
so that
kinds.
people can see it.
Real story, real people.
Real stories, because Got Mick, like up until now, literally, I have never seen someone like him on media.
Yeah.
Ever. Like especially like as a transgender person, I feel like there's still a stereotype there of like you have to transition to the polar opposite,
Yeah.
and then you have to embody what like a
And
cis
be passing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And so if you're transitioning to a man, there's a stereotype that you have to be like the most masculine, like facial hair, like muscles, butch man that you can be.
Yeah.
It's like you have to fully commit to that role. But he was like, no, I'm just a gay guy, and like I'm flamboyant, and like I like to dress up in drag like for money, and like you know, and it's like, who cares? And I was like, yes, like we need to see this because kids need to know that it's okay.
Yeah. And this is like an option for you. I feel like that was honestly such an important piece of representation this year. I thought that was really,
absolutely
really cool.
Another transgender person, going back to Big Brother Canada, was
Julie.
Yeah. Exactly. And so Julie even mentioned on the show that at first she came out as gay, as a gay guy, and didn't even know what transgender was. Like, didn't even know that was a thing, didn't know that existed, didn't know that was an option. And then later on found what transgender was. And she was like, wow, this is literally me. This is exactly who I am, transgender. Like, that resonates. And there's plenty of kids out there that have no idea what that is.
Yeah.
Or have no idea that you can be transgender and still be not the opposite version of you. You know?
Yeah. And I think that really shows, again, the importance of it, because if every single person, every single queer person is having to pave their own way because they're not seeing themselves in the media, that's so exhausting. Like, we need to do better than that. Like, they deserve better than even what we had, because honestly, I didn't know until I'd say like my early like 20s that I was a lesbian, literally, because I never saw any representation whatsoever. And I only started thinking about it once like people on my rugby team started coming out, and I was like, what?
That's an option.
And then my friend Kevin was like, I think you're a lesbian. And I was like, no, oh my God, what? That was the first person who ever said that. I was like, what? I had a boyfriend at the time. I was like, me?
Even while you had a boyfriend?
Yeah, he called me out. I was like,
wow, read you up and down.
The first and only person, I think, because he wanted me to be a lesbian, because he's like gay, and he was like, come be gay with me. But like, I was, wow.
Wow.
Yeah. But there was zero representation. I literally, keep this between me and you because it was a little scandalous. But I didn't realize that I was gay until I started watching porn, which is so pathetic.
Interesting.
That was my representation. Like,
yeah.
You know?
No, I mean, I guess it just depends on what you were watching.
Well, I was watching straight porn, and then I realized that every time the guy was shown, I would like wince.
Oh, that's some indication, I gotta say.
And at first I was like, maybe it's just because I want to be the girl. And I was like, nah, I want to have segs with the girl.
Segs, word of the day.
But like, that's pathetic. That doesn't show me anything positive.
Yeah.
That just shows me the segs.
Just the segs, yeah. It doesn't show any other like aspect of a relationship.
Yeah, and I hate that.
That's funny because the way that I kind of realized that I was queer was kind of with opposite content. It still had segs in it, so I'll give you that. But it wasn't prawn. It was actually just a show. It was a TV show called Lost Girl, and the main character had segs with a woman. But it wasn't like rough or like scandalous or like, you know, like how they dramatize it and they're like all of a sudden they're like and they're kissing each other and they like push each other against
aggressively
walls
scissoring.
I didn't see any of that. So it was more just like loving. It was like literally like they were discovering each other. It was like they were like touching like each other's arms and like hands, and they were like, whoa, like this is like so beautiful. Like I'm touching another woman, and just being like super soft with each other, and it was like, I saw it and I was like, that's so beautiful. And then I was like, I kind of want that.
And then I broke up with my boyfriend. Kind of like still going back to Big Brother. BB can. I would love everyone's opinion, but I strongly feel like Karbon should go and be the token lesbian.
Okay, first of all, I don't like labels, okay? I don't think I would identify as lesbian. I think I would say queer, but I have a famale partner. Famale hot tamale partner.
Thanks. Oh my gosh, thank you.
I would love to be on Big Brother Canada. Should I audition?
I think you'd be so good at it.
Leave it in the comments below. Do you think I should audition? I would totally train hard, but not so hard that I'm too muscular and I'm making myself just like a visible target. But I would train hard for that. Even in memory, I would train me noggin just as much as me body.
I want to explain to people briefly what Big Brother is.
Sure.
Just in case they haven't seen it.
Yeah. Otherwise, it'd be like, I don't know, you do your thing, audition. I don't care.
Yeah, exactly. So basically, a bunch of house guests come into this isolated house that's in this big studio. And every single week, they're fighting.
Physically. Hand and fist.
No, but there's like competitions, and sometimes they're physical, sometimes they're mental, sometimes they're kind of just luck. Yeah. And the first competition is for like head of household, and when you're the head of household, you get to put 2 people on the block, and they're at risk of like going home. So
you hold the power.
Yeah. Then those people and a few others get to play in the power of veto, and whoever wins has the ability to like veto cancel one of the head of households nominations.
Yes.
Which means if one of the people on the block gets the veto, they can take themselves off of the block and put someone else on.
And they're safe.
And
then someone else going home.
Yeah. Okay. And then they kind of play to the end, and the prize is like $100,000, and there's a bunch of other prizes as well. Yes. But then at the end, when it's the final 2, the jury, which is like eliminated house guests, get to decide who is the winner by like their vote. So you have to be very good interpersonally throughout it, not just be like a competition winner.
Yeah, you have to be good at so many things.
Yeah, there's like that jury management piece, so you need to be really good at relationship.
Your social game has to be on point. Your memory game has to be on point. Literally anything that happens in that house can become a competition of memory later on. Like someone winning a veto, someone being eliminated. You have to remember all of that. Every single room in the house, you have to remember like what's on it, just in case like they test your memory on like what's in a room.
Yeah, it's
that
crazy.
Kind of stuff. Like it's crazy. And there's some of them are physical competitions, so you have to be fit. Some of them are mental, so you have to be good with memory.
Yeah.
Others are just like luck or just like the flick of a wrist. So there's so much that goes into it.
But I think that you would be so good at it, and I wouldn't, because
I don't know. Maybe.
The reason like I don't want to go in it is because I have basically no short or long-term memory. Like I have a learning disability, and so much of it is memory games that I was like, I would just stand still. Like I would have no clue how to answer that. At least I think. But I feel
like you might be selling yourself short.
I don't know about that. But and I have a hot temper.
This is true. Okay, this is
such a hot temper.
Yeah, like you get quite emotional, I'll say.
I would make some good TV, but I certainly wouldn't win.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, would I even make good TV if I'm just like under the radar, but like
you
sneak up on you?
they would just like cast other people to be my role of the emotional hothead.
Yeah.
But you would be like the sneaky gal who
I
would
would
get to the
hope.
end.
I don't know how far I'd make it though. I don't think I would win, to be honest. But I think I would make it like, I think my goal would be like to make it halfway. If I make it to like the jury, that'd be insane.
Yeah.
If I audition, should I audition? Again, leave your comments down below.
Yeah. So Karbon used to be like a manager in her last job.
That's true.
And
I used to be a power lifter.
you were good at management,
I'm a dancer.
Yeah.
I'm just talking about like things that could potentially help me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think you're really good at staying calm. Like anytime that I pop off, Karbon's always like chill. Stay calm, stay under the radar. And it's smart, honestly.
I love staying under the radar.
It's super smart.
It's my thing.
It's super smart. And that's why I feel like you'd be good. But also I think you would be good at competitions. Like Karbon's just the kind of person where you're good at everything and it's a little bit frustrating. But yeah.
Okay, I'm not good at everything. She's literally just boasting me up, but I'm good at some things.
You're hype women.
I don't know. Another thing is like, I feel like social game is so massively underrated in Big Brother Canada. Like people look to the obvious targets, like the people who can do a lot of physical competitions or people who are winning competitions. People don't look at the ones who are staying under the radar, not winning any competitions, but playing in like an insanely good social game.
It's true.
People don't look at that very much, which is why this season 9, Brayden Bray Bay, that's why he made it to final 2. It's because his social game was so on point. He was so good with everybody. Everybody loved him. Meanwhile, everybody thought that he was like floating to the top. He was a total floater. He was also seen as a pawn. He was seen as like not a competitor. He was seen as not a threat, yet he made it to final 2.
Totally.
Just saying.
Which is impressive. And then near the end, he started winning a bunch of comps when he needed to.
When he needed to.
Impressive.
Yeah. I fully feel like he purposely threw a couple of HOH competitions because he didn't want to put a target on his back.
Yeah.
And that was smart.
I think for some people, especially me, is like having your life on the line or like when it gets really, really intense.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just kind of switch into a certain like competition mode.
Totally.
That you didn't have before.
Totally. And I'm totally proud as well that 2 Black people made it to final 2, which was definitely BB Can history.
Yeah.
And then second, one of those people is queer. That's so sick.
I just like watching shows with like more diverse people in them.
Me too.
It's more exciting.
It's so much more exciting. It makes everything way more fun.
Yeah, so I would totally recommend this season to anyone. You can just watch it on like global website or the global
Season
app.
9, BB Can.
Yeah. Would love to know anyone's thoughts on it. Or if you're like already a Big Brother fan, then let me know.
Yeah. Who's your favorite character? Let us know.
Character.
Yeah, character. They're not real people.
They're totally fake.
So actually going back to the representation piece, I know that we've been on Big Brother Canada for a bit just because we're excited and we're huge fans now. But I want to know your thoughts on like, why do you think that some people just don't understand why it's important to have representation or they don't see it as like a big deal. They don't see it as something of importance at all.
I think that's a good question, especially because all of the programming that we do is like specifically geared towards queer artists.
Yeah.
You know, we always are doing these programs and trying to like redirect money from corporations over to artists.
To the community.
That's basically what we do. And I have heard people just complain, I guess, about them being cisgendered, them being hetero and not finding any opportunities for them as like an artist or I guess in other industries as well, like when there's kind of like these diversity quotas.
Right.
But the thing is, the more that we uplift queer artists and queer talent, the more representation we're going to get.
Yeah. I also think it's kind of like a confidence issue. Like broadly. I'm not talking about everybody in particular. I'm talking about broadly. So the reason that I say that is because I felt this, definitely. Like being a queer woman of color who doesn't look like a super feminine woman all the time. There's always been previously fear of being marginalized, or maybe not being given a job, or not being given a raise, or like a promotion, or whatever the case, because of all of these factors. Like it's been a thing that I was very insecure about and very worried about, and always thought that was something that was going to hold me back, and that I needed to fight twice as hard just to even be on the same level as someone who's like either cis or white, or heterosexual or whatever. Yeah, it's definitely something that just is in the back of your mind, kind of breaking down your confidence little by little, even if it's like subconsciously. So I think that the point that I'm getting to here is that it's not a matter of giving someone an unfair advantage.
Yeah.
It's more so just about giving someone an opportunity so that they can recognize their greatness, really. That's what it is for me, honestly.
Yeah. I see it as leveling the playing field.
Yeah, I agree.
Me. I think one thing that I always look back to is around this time last year, during all of the Black Lives Matter protests, we filmed a conversation addressing corporate Canada from Black community members with Conscious Economics. It was about connecting the Black community to corporate Canada, and basically having Black community leaders explain to corporate Canada how they can do better. And one of the points was that a lot of the workplace culture doesn't make Black people feel comfortable. It doesn't make them feel welcome. And they need to also open up opportunities for them to get in this field, because if they don't have any family members who have done that, or if they don't see any people like them who are in that field. And I know there's kind of conversations at your last work, Myo Detox, about opening programs to open up pathways for Black people to go into manual therapy.
Yeah. Specifically for Black people.
Yeah.
Yeah. And someone could look at that and be like, hey, what the hell, man? Like, I've been studying for so long, but like I'm a white person, it means that this program is not available to me. Like some people might see that as like unfair, but the fact of the matter is that there's like, how many Black manual therapists do you know?
There was one at your company, right?
Literally one. Like there's not like it's not something that's encouraged for Black people.
Yeah, well, they just don't. If you don't see anyone like you, if your family hasn't gone into it, then you don't see it as a viable path. You
don't see it as an option, and that's the point. Is like these opportunities aren't created to shun people out, or like be exclusive to like a white cis hetero person. It's more so just to like take other people from marginalized communities and be like, hey, like this is an option for you.
Yeah, welcome them in. It's not about excluding, it's about welcoming a new audience into it. Yeah. And a lot of people do feel like opportunities are being taken away from them because the way that things have been distributed has been unfair, but it's slanted in their favor previously.
But the thing is that it's been unfair.
Exactly.
In the opposite way for so long. And now that it's like, it's not even like it's flipped and it's unfair to them. It's literally just balanced. It's not even balanced. I don't think it's balanced yet. I think it's just like starting to like go up, and then people are like, hey, what the hell? Why are you up there? But meanwhile, they're up here. Yeah. And they're getting mad. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's because when things have been tilted in your favor for so long and things are slightly being taken away from you, you feel like you're getting marginalized if you're not looking at the broader picture, if you're not educating yourself. Yeah. And that's why like having these types of conversations is really important. But the reason I was bringing up like Black corporate Canada is because I think that also applies to the queer community. I think opening up these opportunities for queer people is so important, especially like in media, in arts and culture.
Totally.
Because if you're not seeing yourself on the screen, you don't think that you can go into an audition looking like yourself, looking like the queer person.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. I 100% agree. And like, even for artists, right? Like there's obviously queer artists out there in the world that are very popular, but there's certain still stereotypes within that. Like, for example, Lil Nas X is literally breaking ground
completely
because he's black, he's gay, he's also a rapper.
Yeah.
So that is just like an extremely uncommon trio of factors right there. Like, you don't like who's the last like black gay rapper that you've heard of?
Recently, I guess Tyler the Creator kind of
Right.
has been exploring his sexuality, but the interesting thing about that case is
Tyler the Creator is like said he's gay like for time.
That's sick. Yeah. So, but the thing with that is he entered into an industry that is basically dominated by straight men,
right?
Who, and we've made a post about this like the other day. It's dominated by straight men who are expressing their masculinity, their straightness through homophobia. And you kind of see this through like Kanye West, J. Cole, all of these people saying the F slur, saying like no homo in their songs. And Tyler Creator also did the same thing in his songs before he came out.
Right.
So it's kind of interesting. It shows you how the industry, like specifically the rap industry, really impacts you. Yeah. And it makes you feel pigeonholed. And that's kind of why we wrote that post, because it's so clear to me that what he's doing is so groundbreaking in the rap industry specifically. Yeah. You know, it's really challenging the norms, and it's so brave of him to be doing that.
And not only that, but like, not to take credit away from Tyler the Creator, because first of all, he's an amazing rapper, and also cool. I completely respect the way that he expresses himself, but he's not very feminine or flamboyant. Yeah, Tyler, specifically Tyler, which is, there's nothing wrong with that at all. Yeah. You know, we just established we don't have to be flamboyant to be gay or anything like that. But it's also at the same time cool to see someone who is in that industry, because that is unheard of, and that's, I think, super cool to see him being just unapologetically himself. And as flamboyant as he wants to be in the rap industry is crazy.
It's sick.
And it's sick. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's really opening doors for other people and other artists in the future, which I think is really cool.
I definitely agree with that. I think that the rap industry is changing, like fundamentally. And that's cool to see as well. Yeah. And have you noticed that anytime a show decides, okay, we're going to make this season like either diverse or like super queer or whatever, and it's like the best season. Always. Like when you include as many people as possible, it can only get better. Like, it does not make it more dull. It doesn't make it more boring. No. It doesn't make it more infuriating. It just makes it better every time. Like, Are You the One season 8, all queer cast?
It was so good.
Insane. Like, that was the best thing I've seen. Yeah, obsessed. Watch honestly, that too. Let us know what you think.
Now that you've been given all your homework, it's time for us to sort of like wrap this episode up. I really like chatting about it. If there's something kind of in this realm that you want to talk more about, definitely leave a comment. We love reading your comments.
Yeah. We hope that we introduced new things to you. If you've never watched Big Brother Canada, go watch that shit. If you've never watched Are You the One season 8, go watch that shit. And honestly, let us know what you think about representation. Is it important to you? Is it not? And why? I really want to know why. And if you have seen those two shows or go see it after this, let us know what you think, and let us know if you feel like the representation was good, or was it not enough, or was it too much? Like, let us know what you think. I'm really curious. With all of that being said, though, that is it for us. Please subscribe, leave a like, and comment, and turn those notifications on, because we put out these videos every single week, and you do not want to miss them. With all that being said, guys, we'll see you in the next pod. Peace!